Good evening. Prosecutors are opposing before the International Criminal Court former President Rodrigo Duterte's appeal for interim release. In a 15-page filing dated June 23, Deputy Prosecutor Mame Mandyaye Nyang argues that the continued detention of Duterte remains necessary to ensure his appearance at trial. The prosecution recalls that Duterte himself told arresting officers that they would, quote, just have to kill him to bring him to The Hague and before the court. The prosecution believes this statement from Duterte is not consistent with an individual committed to appearing for his trial. They also argue that Duterte could pose a risk of endangerment or obstruction of the ongoing investigation. The prosecution cites the possible opportunity to intimidate or threaten witnesses, either directly or indirectly, through Duterte's associates or family members. According to the prosecution, Duterte's continued detention will also prevent him from continuing the commission of crime. They recall how the former president reportedly stated that he pledged to double the killings when he becomes Davao City Mayor again. For these reasons, the prosecution submits that the conditions laid out by Duterte's team cannot be practically or appropriately implemented. The ICC currently has custody of Duterte after he was arrested over crimes against humanity charges. The case is based on crimes he allegedly committed during his administration's bloody anti-drug campaign. Israeli authorities say at least 4 people were killed in a multi-wave Iranian missile attack shortly before the ceasefire announced by U.S. President Donald Trump took effect. Israel's National Emergency Services says 3 people were pronounced dead at the scene of a strike in southern Beersheba on Tuesday, June 24. A 4th fatality was later added in an update to its figures. It adds that another 2 people were moderately injured while 20 were treated for minor injuries and anxiety. According to Israel's military, sirens rang out across Israel for around 2 hours from dawn as Iran fired 6 waves of missiles. The full extent of damage after 12 days of war is not known due to military censorship rules, but at least 50 impacts have been acknowledged nationwide, and the official death toll stood at 24 before Tuesday's attacks. Trump earlier announced a ceasefire agreement between Iran and Israel. The U.S. president said the 2 countries would stop firing in staggered phases. Meanwhile, Iran said it did not intend to continue its strikes if Israel stopped its attacks. Tensions escalated on June 13 after Israel carried out strikes on Iran's nuclear and military sites. Malacanang shrugs off Vice President Sara Duterte's remarks questioning the foreign policy of President Bongbong Marcos's administration. The Vice President broke her silence on West Philippine Sea issues but slammed the Marcos' decision to allow the United States to deploy its missiles in the country. She said this move antagonizes China, adding it does not support an independent foreign policy. In a press briefing on Tuesday, June 24, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the remarks were expected from a Duterte. The Vice President's remarks echoed former President Rodrigo Duterte's position during his presidency. Former President Duterte pivoted to China during his term, which Marcos later reversed. Under Marcos' administration, the U.S. deployed 2 of its missiles in northern Luzon. Marcos also green-lighted joint patrols and military exercises with the U.S. in the West Philippine Sea. Beijing asserts sovereignty over almost the entire South China Sea, including most of the West Philippine Sea. But the arbitral award dismissed this while ruling heavily in favor of Manila's sovereign rights. The House of Representatives prosecution team is studying the response of Vice President Sara Duterte to the articles of impeachment against her. In a message to reporters on Tuesday, June 24, House Prosecutor Jervil Luistro confirms receiving Duterte's answer ad cautelam on Monday, June 23. According to Luistro, the House prosecution team is studying each and every allegation contained in the answer. Luistro says the prosecution team will reply within the 5 days provided under the impeachment rules. In Duterte's response, she maintained that the impeachment complaint should be declared void from the beginning because it supposedly violated the limitations set under the 1987 Constitution. She asserted that only one impeachment proceeding may be initiated against the same official within 1 year. However, as early as February, members of the House prosecution team noted that the 1-year ban had not yet taken effect before Duterte was impeached on February 5. According to San Juan Representative Isabel Maria Zamora, the one-year ban on new complaints did not take effect because the first 3 raps did not leave the office of the House Secretary General. Zamora cited a Supreme Court ruling that the 1-year prohibition on filing new impeachment complaints will start only after the charges are forwarded to the House Committee on Justice. In February, Duterte was impeached after 215 lawmakers filed and signed a verified impeachment complaint against her. Duterte's impeachment was hinged on different issues like the allegations of confidential funds misuse within her offices, among others. President Bongbong Marcos is ordering the immediate destruction of suspected crystal meth or shabu, which was recovered from the waters of Luzon. The president visited on Tuesday, June 24, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency headquarters in Quezon City. The agency presented 1.3 metric tons of shabu worth 8.87 billion pesos. PDEA Director General Undersecretary Isagani Neres says fishermen recently discovered the illegal drugs floating off the coasts of Pangasinan, Zambales, Cagayan, Ilocos Norte, and Ilocos Sur. Marcos is ordering the proper disposal of the illegal drugs, wanting to make sure it no longer returns to the market.
What we will do now, titiyakin natin, ay ang proper disposal nitong mga drogang ito para hindi babalik sa black market, hindi babalik sa street market, basta't hindi na lalabas, sisirain na natin. According to PDEA, we will be destroying, I would suggest that the press attend that, the destruction of the drugs, para makita ninyo.
According to PDEA, no one has been apprehended and no criminal case has been filed in connection with the recovered drifting shabu. Neres says the drugs will then be destroyed through thermal decomposition. Before the burning of the contraband, PDEA said it completed the proper inventory of the drugs in the presence of required witnesses, conducted forensic laboratory examinations, and prepared the necessary reports. The U.S. Embassy in the Philippines says all non-immigrant visa applicants are now required to set their social media accounts to public. In an advisory on Tuesday, June 24, the U.S. Embassy says this request applies to all individuals applying for an F, M, or J non-immigrant visa. These types of visas are all used by individuals coming to the U.S. for educational or cultural exchange purposes. Both F and M visas are for students, while exchange visitors use J visas. According to the embassy, setting accounts to public will facilitate vetting necessary to establish the applicant's identity and admissibility to the U.S. Since 2019, the U.S. has required visa applicants to provide social media identifiers on immigrant and non-immigrant visa application forms. The embassy explains that all available information is used in their visa screening to identify applicants who are inadmissible, including those who pose a threat to U.S. national security. Earlier, the U.S. State Department said that it is restarting the process for foreigners applying for student visas. The department said consular officers will be on the lookout for posts and messages that could be deemed hostile to the U.S., its government, and institutions, among others. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.